So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking out time in the middle of the day to listen to us, to listen to Sir, and learn and try to learn something. I'll just give a small, brief introduction about JSW One MSME's Masterclass that we have started in January. The idea behind the masterclass is to give to MSMEs the knowledge that there is lacking. So, in the previous two seminars that we had a discussion about the policies that the government has, the new schemes that the government launches, and the second session that we had in March, in February, that was about the effect of budget on MSMEs. So these are the two sessions that we had. And third, when we were thinking of the third session, we thought that it'll be great to have a fireside chat with someone who is working, who owns an MSME, who is working and who can actually tell the exact problems that people face and how to overcome them, and also to grow the business. So, just starting with how important MSMEs are in India for the Indian economy. More than 30% of the GDP contribution of India is by MSMEs. MSMEs do generate most of the employment and also fosters entrepreneurship. So just to start, to know the challenges faced by MSMEs, to also understand how to improve business, we have with us Mr. Kunal Sood, Director of MPI Exports, as well as Allen Wright Steel Private Limited, who's going to tell us I'm sure all of us will learn a lot. Just a little bit about the companies and Sir. Sir has more than 2 decades of experience in these companies as the director. And he has established their brand as the leader in sectors like automobile OEMs, auto components, earth moving, machinery and defense. So let's discover their keys to success, which they claim to be timely deliveries, exceptional quality, competitive pricing, and so on and so forth. I welcome Mr. Kunal to give us a brief introduction and tell us a little bit about the business that he runs.
Thanks a lot, Ayush.
Thank you.
Firstly, I'd like to thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to, have a chat with similar people like me. I mean, we're all MSMEs. We kind of face the same kind of challenges. So definitely helps in, sharing our ideas, sharing our knowledge. I mean, it will be mutually beneficial to all of us. Just a brief background about me and my company. We actually started off in Chennai. We have a bright bar unit in Chennai. We manufacture bright bars and coils. Started by my father actually in 1977. So we've been based out of Chennai for the last close to about 45 years. And early 2000s, we set up a factory in Pune as well. Similar, we manufacture bright bars in Pune as well. And in addition to that, in Pune, we also have a coil service center where we do the cut to length and slitting of CR coils. And we've been in this industry for the last 40 years, and it's not been an easy journey. I mean, everybody will appreciate the fact that, there are a lot of challenges facing the MSMEs in today's scenario. But like I said, it's always beneficial, always helpful if, we can share, get together and share our experiences, and that way, help each other. So it's a great initiative taken by JSW to bring us all together. And for that, Ayush, I thank you and your team. And that's a brief introduction about myself, and then you can take it forward now.
Thank you so much for the introduction, sir. So as you mentioned, there have been ups and downs, there have been challenges in the journey. So, I mean, can you just tell us what kind of challenges do you generally face? Is it related to operations mostly, or is it finance, or what are the major challenges that you have been faced through the years?
See, with respect to, being an MSME, I think the other participants will also agree. I think, at least personally for me, couple of challenges that we really face, and what we have to take care of on a daily basis is, firstly is, I mean, anybody who runs a factory will know that labor is a big challenge. Handling the labor, getting adequate labor, and retaining uh, the labor is a big challenge that we face. Because, I mean, off late in the last say couple of years, it's been a big challenge for us to retain labor, and handling the labor also becomes very challenging because at least we employ a lot of migrant labor. I mean, based out of Chennai and Pune, but most of our labor comes from, say, West Bengal, Bihar, UP, and places like this. So at the drop of a hat, they just decide to leave us without any notice. So it becomes a real challenge. Smooth running of the factory becomes a little bit of a problem. Apart from that, cash flows, managing finances, that is a big challenge as well. I mean, off late in the last 4-5 years, steel prices have really, gone through the roof. So, whenever there's a price increase, although we get the increases from our ultimate customers, the OEMs and all that, but it obviously takes a little bit of time, a couple of months if we're lucky, or to drag on for 3-4 months. And then in that interim period, it's a challenge for us to, manage our cash flows because steel mills, like we all obviously have to make the payments, upfront and then provide credit to our customers. It's become a norm that most of our customers expect, credit of 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. So the working capital gap is definitely there. We find that, it becomes difficult, especially during the times of this increase, to manage our cash flows. And another challenge is during times when, steel demand is really picking up, then material availability also becomes a big issue, coordinating with all the steel mills, getting the raw materials on time, because when we supply to, these OEMs, obviously they give us their schedules every month and they expect that the materials are supplied to them or to their vendors on a timely basis. If there's any delays from this, getting the raw material from the steel mills, obviously they are not going to accept those kinds of delays. So that becomes a real challenge for us. And apart from that, I know these are statutory requirements, obviously. I mean, that's not only for an MSME, but there are a lot of compliances that we need to take care of now, especially with the digitalization that the government is pushing for. So there are a lot of statutory requirements, and we need to make sure that we're on top of that, because that's something that we really couldn't, overlook, because it can have a lot of consequences. So I think these are somehow personally, I feel that these are some of the challenges that we face. And I think if some of the other, my colleagues or the participants, if they can also highlight something that, will help all of us to understand it better.
Definitely. I'm sure everyone will be able to relate with those problems. And also, if anyone wants to add anything, they can raise their hand at any time, and we will definitely ask you. So, as you mentioned, I think the major challenges that you mentioned, one was labor management, then credit was another, laws and compliances was another, and cash flow definitely. So, I mean, have you implemented any strategic solutions for it? How have you been able to manage all these problems that have, and I'm sure these are day-to-day problems. Every time it is different and it has to be managed in a very different manner. But
Right.
How do you generally go about it?
Keeping the labor happy is it's a 24/7 job. No matter what we do for them, it always falls short when it comes, from their perspective. But As far as possible, what we try to do is, uh, keep in mind what is the, I mean, primarily we try to see that, the salaries that we pay are on par, at least on par, if not better than, similar industries or, our other competitors. We try and see that, we keep them happy that way. I mean, their primary concern is, about the salary. As long as their payments and their remuneration is, on par. The only reason they probably leave us and go somewhere else is because if they get a better salary. So we just try and, we keep a track of, what is the salary that other people are paying. Make sure that, we can match that salary, or if possible, give them a better salary. And people who are key, people who are important, obviously, we don't mind paying an additional amount, paying some amount more than what they expect. And because once somebody gets used to our way of working, getting somebody new, training them again, that the cost involved, although it's not tangible, but the intangible cost involved is quite high, which a lot of us don't realize. We think that somebody goes, they can be easily replaced, but again, there's a intangible cost we incur in that, which we really cannot be put into monetary numbers, but definitely there is a cost involved in that. So as far as possible, try and keep them happy, make sure that turnover is not there. That is something that we do. And then obviously, with respect to labor, ESI, PF, everything is covered. But in addition, try and give them, we have like a workmen's compensation group policy. So, if at all they or their family member, any medical assistance is required, so they have that kind of cover available with them. So that burden doesn't fall on them. That is one more thing that we do. And
That's
I think
actually
respect.
great. Yeah, that's actually great. And I mean, it will definitely vary from company to company, the size of the company.
Right.
Everyone has their own ways of dealing with employees. So I'm sure
Right.
This is something great that you're doing. So one very interesting question, which I think, and a lot of other participants will also be having, is how do you move from, let's say, when the business started in 1977, then the problems were very different. From going from, let's say, 0 to that one phase is a little different than after you took over. Taking it from 1 to 10 or 1 to 100 is a little is different. So what are the differences that you see, and how do you, I mean, what and how do we move from that 0 to 1 phase to 1 to 100 phase? Because generally I feel that a lot of companies, MSMEs, they are unable to grow after a certain stage. So how do we move past that point?
I think personally, I feel that the only way that a company can grow is as long as you take care of your customers, the customers will take care of you. So it's just a question. I mean, ultimately, any company is in business, to cater to the customer's needs. So as long as you're able to, identify the customer's needs and make sure that you service them properly, adequately. I mean, nowadays, price, quality, delivery, all those parameters that were there in the early 2000s or late 1990s, that is a given. If you can't meet those expectations of the customer, you won't be in business. So there has to be something else which differentiates you. But that differentiator, each company needs to identify and make sure that they are able to cater to that. I mean, meet that customer's expectation. Without that, there is no possibility of any company growing. And then once you have that as a standard in your company, or you have that in your system, that process is already established, and whether it's an old customer or whether it's a new customer, as long as you follow that system, there's no way. I mean, there should be no reason that a customer leaves you, or there should be no reason why a customer should look for another supplier.
Right.
So, I mean, at at least in our company, we just make it a point that, they say there's a cliche which says customer is king, and we just truly believe that he is actually the king, and we have to, no matter what, we have to, cater to his requirements.
Here at JSW, I mean, when I joined, I have realized this one thing, that personal touch in B2B, at least in B2B sales, it is very important to build that relation, show that you are there for the customer. So I mean, definitely, I completely agree with the point that you mentioned. So another, just a follow-up question, after growing after a certain stage, there is one thing which is very important for the growth is systems and processes. Otherwise, it's all chaotic if there is no systems and processes set. So, for the benefit of all the attendees here, if you can just tell how should a company go about establishing those systems and processes, because also there's lack of knowledge in people in general, and not to be blamed, it's there. So how do we understand that the compliances, the laws, that is also a very big hindrance for people to grow, because they think that after, let's say, having more than 50 employees, we'll have to cater to all these policies and compliances of the government. People are generally afraid of that. I've seen that. I also feel that this is one of the reasons why people do not grow, or they might stop. So how to cater to that?
See, the company was started by my father. We are a family-run business. But at a certain point of time, we need to, understand that the proprietors or the directors can't do everything. There has to be, we have to get in that professional setup into the company, into the business. We need to learn how to delegate, give responsibilities to the people that, who are working with us. And we need to have a very, at least as owners, as directors of the company, we need to have a very top-down approach, in the sense that, at the macro level, we need to see, look after the company, but, the day-to-day affairs, the nitty-gritties, that we need to definitely delegate and, pass it on to professionals. They are also well qualified to, run the business, and they also come with a wealth of knowledge. They also have a lot of experience. Many a time there are people, whom I work with, and they can give us good ideas which we would have never thought of, because, our thinking is in a particular way, but they can always bring a different point of view, which definitely can help the business. So if we have to grow beyond a particular size, and I think it's very necessary, that we bring in these professionals, and, ultimately, if you see big corporates, obviously they all professionally managed, obviously they're doing something right. So we need to learn from them, and we need to follow in their footsteps. So that is a big, it was a challenge for us also, but we are slowly trying to do that, and we are trying to do that in our companies, both in Chennai and Pune as well. So that is something that I think, everybody should try and see in whatever way possible. It need not be on a big scale, but even on a small scale, if that can be done, that can be incorporated into the company culture, then I think that's half the battle won.
Definitely, that was a great answer. So, in similar lines, also, have you installed some technology? Have you used technology in some ways where the participants can also think of doing something similar in those lines?
With respect to a manufacturing concern, the one way, or the way that we've done it is we installed an ERP, which is, we haven't installed a SAP or, one of the big ones, because obviously that's for a much larger organization, but we've installed an ERP which has definitely streamlined our processes. Right across the board, like any ERP would, but that has definitely made things easier. That is one thing that we've done. And when you say technology, the thing is, in today's industrial scenario, technology keeps changing very often, and that's something that we need to keep a finger on all the time. We never know, the existing way in which we do our manufacturing. Obviously, there will be a better way of doing it, but being an MSME, we always have that constraint about, funding, financing, that becomes a big issue. But in whatever small way, I mean, depending on the each company, we should always look at technology upgradation. And at least what we try and do is every year we set aside a small portion of money, whatever, I mean, it depends on each customer, set aside a small portion, after every, say after 5 years, after 7 years, definitely you will need to improve the machines that you have, improve the, equipment that you have. So at that time, when you're actually planning to go in for that upgradation, then you go around looking for funds and financing that thing. But if you make it a point that you have this discipline of, creating a reserve for that, it becomes so much easier, and that decision can be taken so much quicker, because invariably, at least what I've seen is a lot of people put off that decision because funding is not available. But if you make it a point that, every year create a reserve where, set aside a certain amount of money, and then when the time comes, obviously those funds are available. You can, when you find a good opportunity, funding is not the reason that you don't go in for it.
Got it. Thank you so much for these amazing answers. Talking about technology, so there are a lot of B2B e-commerce companies upcoming, and you've also worked with JSW1.
Right.
What do you think about these companies as a whole, B2B e-commerce as a segment, and has JSW1 helped you in any way? If you can share that, how can we improve further as a company and help all these MSMEs better, make their lives easier in any way possible?
Anush, if I'm not mistaken, I think JSW is also coming out with a portal where you can see the stock availability, you can see the prices, you can place the order.
We have it live right now, although
Right.
we are improving it every day. But JSW1 MSME.
So that's a great initiative. I don't think any other steel mill has that kind of this kind of portal where customers can log in themselves, see what are the stocks available, place their order online. This is like just going. I mean, obviously, online purchasing, Amazon and all this it's the way that people go today. And then industrial buying has never been thought of in this kind of way, and that is something that JSW is probably pioneering. So that's a great initiative taken from them. And personally, I've been buying material from JSW1, I think for the last year and a half now. I definitely feel that, I buy wire rods from JSW1. So it's a much simpler process rather than, traditionally, just to take an example, if I had to buy material from RINL and to compare it with what, buying material from JSW, obviously it's definitely, the experience is much better with JSW. Ease of the availability of the material, the information that is available to us. Information is more readily available to us. And, rather than buying it, earlier I used to buy it directly from the plant. Then what happens is I have to buy in bulk. I have to buy a 30 ton, 40 ton. Dispatches from the plant will be made in that. But being an MSME, my requirement may be much smaller. And then these smaller lots, I'm able to buy it from JSW1. It becomes easier for me. My cash flow is improved. I don't need to lock up my funds for, say, a month or 6 weeks to get together. As and when the requirements come up, I can buy smaller lots from JSW. So definitely, life has become easier since I've started dealing with JSW1, and for that I thank you.
Perfect. Just to add on a couple of points, JSW1 is also working on, and it has started giving credit to customers who have transacted with us with like a minimum of 3 cash transactions. We have also started providing credit in terms of BG, letter of credit, as well as channel finance. So that is another thing that we are doing. With technology, we are working on building a better portal wherein people can buy multiple categories, not only wire rod, but also we are introducing chemicals in the coming months. We are working on introducing structural steel. Structural steel is also, I mean, it's already there. We are trying to build a complete e-commerce solution for all the industrial buying raw material needs, steel needs. So these are the few value points that we, as an e-commerce platform by JSW, are trying to solve for the customers. So I mean, that's about JSW one. Now we'll just take 5 minutes of yours and answer the questions that people have. We have got 2 questions as of now. First one is by Mr. Nikesh Sheth. The question is how you manage capacity utilization, especially in the capital intensive manufacturing industry. What metrics are tracked for effective utilization of resources?
See, at least what we have done is we have done a time motion study for each of our each equipment of ours, each machine of ours, and this detail is available with our supervisors on the shop floor, and they are, we kind of have developed a kind of MIS report that is sent to me every morning, because while I'm sitting in Pune, the production that happens in Chennai, I get a snapshot with that MIS report. What is the actual production vis-a-vis what is the the actual output that should come from that machine. So reporting is a very fundamental and very important part of manufacturing, where we should have, if not real-time data, at least data which is available to us on a daily basis, where we can monitor where we are going. So that is something that we make it a point to follow in our company. Well, capacity utilization, as far as possible, ideally it should be 100%, but it's very, very rare that any MSME is utilized 100%. But again, it depends on your the orders that you have with your customers. The best case scenario is where you're booked throughout for 26 days of the month and 12 months of the year. That would be the ideal situation. But well, I don't know. We completely rely on these MIS reports that we get from our production team, and if at all any action needs to be taken, we try and do it on a daily basis, or at least on a weekly basis. I'm not sure if that answered his question, but I mean, that's
I hope this answers your question, Mr. Nikesh. So next question is by Mr. Rohan. He's asking if you have ever faced any difficulty regarding sourcing of material in terms of quality and price. I'm sure it's a concern. The market is such. But
see, with respect to price, we as MSMEs have no control over that. The prices are set by the steel mills, or the prices are decided by the steel mills and the OEMs, or our customers. And then we are told by the steel mills that these are the prices which have been agreed. They're normally held for a quarter or for 6 months. And during the course of those 6 months, those prices are valid. So we really have no control over the pricing that the steel mills, at the most, you can negotiate with the mills based on your quantities. If quantities are higher, obviously they might, offer you some quantity discount or things like that. But otherwise, personally for me, we have never been able to get the steel mills for give us a price reduction or anything. Whatever is agreed by the steel mills and the OEM is what we are expected to follow. And with respect to quality, though, there definitely, there's no, there is bound to be quality issues that come up, because ultimately steel making is not a precise science. There can be a lot of reasons by which, there may be some quality issues. And that is something that, ultimately depends upon the relationship that you have with the steel mill, how the quality issues addressed. Because And from my experience, I would tell you that more often than not, when there's a quality issue, the steel mill will tell us that it's not their problem, it's our problem. But it's a question of how you're able to manage it with them, what's your relationship with them. And as long as you have the data to support your claim, I don't think, I mean, that should help you in settling that the issue with the steel mill.
Precisely, I think it's perfect answer, because price in this industry, you have to be a price taker. It is decided by the companies, the manufacturers, and also the market dynamics. So not a lot can be done there. So apart from these questions, we also got some questions while we were getting registrations. One question was how to get foreign clients or customers. Exporting, I'm sure. Do we export, sir?
We do from our Chennai unit.
Okay.
We do export, but again, that is at least for us personally, that is the lead that we got from one of the OEMs. One of the OEMs that we are approved with. They have some suppliers overseas, so we got our reference through them, and we started supplying for the last couple of years. We started supplying bright bars to them as well. But as far as getting customers, overseas customers, I mean, there are a lot of databases which you can access, which are available today, which will actually give you the data about, the products that you manufacture. Data regarding those products being exported, this kind of data, I mean, the information is definitely available. I mean, there are various websites where you can get it. There are companies which provide this information for a fee. So you just need to probably locate these sources, try and find out these customers. Best case scenario would be if you have a representative, in other countries, and they generate leads for you, but not everybody can do that. So sitting over here, sitting in India, the best way to get this kind of information is, subscribe to these. Look for this information online, or subscribe to some of the services that these companies offer, and then it's a question of just pursuing those customers, generating leads, and then trying and exploring those markets.
Great. I think that has answered the question. So I think we are already up. We have exceeded the time limit. So I would like to wind this session. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time and the valuable insights that you have given to everyone. I hope everyone has learned something or the other and would definitely implement it in their business and grow. You like a couple of points which actually struck with me was the thing that you actually try to practice with your employees, the health benefits that you try to give them, the reserve fund that you maintain for buying machinery. That was also quite important as a thought, because generally otherwise when people do not keep such reserves, they face issues when they want to expand. Thirdly, the ERP system that you have implemented in the company, which actually so that you get snapshot easily, and also how you have set up a management system. It's not only family run, but also you've understood the importance of having professionals. So I think these were the most striking points for me, and I hope everyone, the participants, have also learned these things, and they will also try to implement. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Ayush. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, and thank you everyone who took out their time in the middle of the day on a working day and came to listen. I hope everyone learned something. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.